wear 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
So I'll preface this by saying I work in the film industry. I think that as actors, as people in front of the screen, as people involved in the film industry, in the film business, people have to take time and learn how the industry works, how films are made, how money is created, where the money is in content, what's the business. So if you've been looking at the strikes, one of the reasons that the SAG-AFTRA actors went on strike was, the use of AI. This was a big point. The use of AI in the film business, how that is a threat to jobs moving forward because, with AI, you can, let's say, recycle extras. So you see those people, if you're watching a film that are just in the background, you could recycle those through AI and only have to pay people for 1 day of work. That's something that I would encourage strikes to happen for. For example, imagine for people who don't work in the industry, let's say if you go to a cashier and that cashier is a person, and then but through AI you're able to scan that cashier. So every time you're going to your store, you're engaging with a character, with a human, but that's not a human. It's artificial intelligence that just is in front of you, right? That is the same thing where people would be like, no way, you have to pay this person, right? If they're not here, they shouldn't be paid. When it comes to Rachel and what her argument is, I think there's a little bit of ignorance there because you have to understand how business and what the business is and what are we selling, what are you offering. So Rachel, when you get a job with Disney to work on Snow White, what you're doing is something that's called a work for hire. You're being hired for your services as an actress to portray a role, a character, and when it's done, you're compensated accordingly based on what you accept and what Disney offers based off of your negotiation. Your agent negotiates. What happens post that is Disney is going to make money. Disney is going to make a lot of money because a lot of people love Snow White and a lot of people grew up watching this. For the elders, it's something you grew up watching. Like this thing has been there for 85 years. So granted, I understand you want a piece of the pie. Like we all want a piece of the pie. But I think that one thing that we have to understand is, let's say, for example, people who work on iPhones, right? There's the low-level worker who works on an iPhone. There's the engineer that works on an iPhone. There's all these people that are involved in the making of an iPhone. Now, if everybody was involved in this, it's like every time there's a sale of the iPhone, I need to be compensated. Then there's a problem there, right? Because that's not your job. Your job, you're not involved. If you want to be part of this, then you have to invest into equity. And then that way, anytime the Disney movies are streamed, you make a piece because you have ownership. You've taken risk on this movie. You cannot just say, hey, I did a job and I want to be paid. I want to be paid because you're using my likeness. No, you did a job. What you do for Disney is go to work. You work for them. You're an employee for the time period. And then a product is created, which is sold to people, which is part of Disney's strategy. So one of the things that I feel like is going to be very difficult to make companies accept is why should we pay you? And I understand that residuals should be paid. Right now I think residuals go to directors, go to the writers, everybody who's involved in creating this piece of art. And rightfully so, I think that they should be with streaming. Streaming creates a different sort of challenge that TV didn't, in the sense of you don't really know how much goes. So for example, if you're on Disney and you're paying $20 a month, right? That $20 a month is spread out throughout Disney's content that they have. And granted, it can be 200 million or whatever, but then Disney, knowing its numbers, has to be able to open up these numbers and share and then let people know how much money does each movie make for them and then distribute it. So I think that a conversation definitely has to happen in terms of how do we move residuals from what we knew them as to what we know them as now, and I think that these demands have to come from a business mind. You cannot just be like, oh, because I'm coming to work, I should be paid. I think that there is a good case of saying, without my face, you wouldn't make X amount of money. Like we all know, like let's say, you know, the Matrix without Keanu Reeves, is it the same Matrix? Is Iron Man the same Iron Man without Robert Downey Jr.? And how much compensation is enough? How much compensation is enough for Rachel Zegler to play Snow White? And what is fair and what is not fair? But then what is the business? In what industry? How does the industry operate? So I think there is need to educate herself. I don't want to come off here and be like a bully. People will be like, hey, compensation. Listen, we are all compensated for the work we do, but we don't carry the work home, right? Like I worked on a lot of films. I don't get a single dollar from them. It was here's your $100, go home, which is the same with her. And I get it. People want money grabs. I think one of the main things we now live in our society is there's a lot of laziness. Like a lot of people, especially in the film industry, are very lazy. And instead of, Rachel, I don't know how much money you've made in your career, but you could take all that money and create an IP that generates a lot of revenue for you, not trying to live off of Disney. And also, like, I don't know. The other thing that's going to happen is these companies can literally start saying, okay, we're going to pay you. We just take it from the little man, from the extras that are involved, And I think that before saying anything, before going in front of a mic, think about what you're saying, because it impacts a lot of people. And I don't want to come here and bash her because, she's probably ignorant and doesn't mind, So yeah, talk to your agent. Your agent has to negotiate it in your contract, And once you also have clout, once you have something, I'm pretty sure these companies will compensate you for your contribution. But it's not just about saying I should be paid for the work. That is the work. That is what you're paid for. That's your salary. That's the job. You should watch Mad Men. That's what you're paid for. That's why they give you whatever you agreed to be paid to do the job. These strikes are far bigger than just your pay. These strikes are for the people who are being threatened, the extras, people whom, you can be scanned and your likeness can be used over and over and are being cut out. Those people, for the little actors, the unknown actors. And conversations have to occur. We don't want to be sidetracked by nonsense.